Welcome, Moxie fam. I'm so excited that you all are joining us. We are talking about permission to pause and rest as a radical act of self-trust. Come on, cozy blanket. I mean,
Always.
always. And so I'm so excited to talk about rest with y'all. I am joined by some of my favorite human beings, y'all. Our life coach and founder, Sierra Friend, and our director of operations, Chrissy. And I'm Darian, our host and digital media director here at Moxie Life. And we're so excited that y'all are spending some time with us.
Yes. I know, I'm excited. I'm excited to spend this time.
Yes.
This has already made my day better, so I'm excited.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I know. Anytime I'm with y'all, just makes my heart happy. So excited. But before we kick off, I just want to know, how are we doing today? Can you let me know on a scale of 1 to 10 how we feeling?
Oh, well, this live came at a really good time because I may have had multiple mentee bees today. And I was like, okay, we're talking about rest tonight. Let's lean into that. Let's take a break. Let's sit on your comfy chair and let's just relax for a little bit. So, I would say I'm at a 6 or 7.
Okay. I like that.
Every time we come and you ask me these, as I was showing up here, I'm not going to lie, I was a 2 or 3, so disheveled, crazy, just the world, hello, all of this. And I'm just today was just one of those days. But every single time that music comes on and the live button is showing, I immediately go to 7, 8. I am not going to lie. Being here with you guys is so good for my soul. Full stop. I love you guys so much.
Yeah. I love you. I'm feeling I'm floating at a 7, at an 8. It was a really just an easy, chillax day. Went and got my hair done, made myself feel a little good. Oh, thanks. No, seriously. And so that just kind of boosted my spirits, and then being able to do this and spend time with y'all as always just makes my heart so happy. So I love that. And the one thing I love about these check-ins is that there's no right or wrong answer. It's just how we feeling in a check-in. So I love that. Love. Are we ready to talk about rest?
We are ready.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to get us started by saying, when you hear the word rest, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Stop. Just rest means rest is almost quiet quitting. It used to be almost quiet quitting for me. Okay. I will say my mindset has totally shifted, but I will say a few years ago, rest was quiet quitting.
Interesting.
Mm.
That's interesting. Mm-hmm. Especially because I know you so well. And I think you and I are so similar. We're both very very driven, very go, go, go. So it makes sense, because I was going to say, I've done a lot of work around rest because yes, I'm old. I'm almost 50. So I've had numerous careers. I've had
lies.
I
don't believe it.
48. But I, in my 20s, was working so hard at my career that rest was to me a 4-letter word. Rest equaled lazy. Rest meant failing. The weight that I gave to rest was so damaging to my mental and my physical and my emotional health, but I was not willing to even question it. I just would go all in. So I can see when you said quiet quitting, to me, rest was I'm going to sneak it if I needed it. It was still attached to productivity in some form or fashion, but it would be something that I wasn't in my full chest, fully embracing. And I still struggle with that. And I know we'll talk about that more tonight, but I've definitely changed my relationship with rest. Now I get scrappy with it. Now I get grouchy about my rest like I do if I don't have my cup of coffee. I'm don't talk to me. I have not rested. I need rest.
Yeah. I love that. And I resonate with what some of our fam has been saying, slow down, sleep. Yeah. I know for me, when I think about rest, for me, I don't know. I immediately feel this tension, ooh, but I think the word that comes to mind immediately is luxury.
Oh, that's
Like, rest
interesting.
is a luxury, which I know is not true, but I know for, like, that's just when I think I'm like, "Oh, this is a luxury." Like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know Beck said impossible,
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
which
Yeah.
feels like it's along the same lines. Mm,
It's
Yep.
real.
yeah.
Mhm.
No, we're going to talk about that. I mean, there's a lot. I would say that's the number one thing that I have noticed, especially with working with those of us who've been socialized as women. But especially here in the States, where rest is not something that is honored, like suffering and working yourself to the bone and caretaking for others at expense of self. There's no room for your basic needs, or you can do it later when it's convenient or makes sense for everybody else. And oftentimes that doesn't happen. And I've seen a lot of things shift and change over like recent years, just because it feels like we've kind of thrown up all the rules and in a snow globe. And it's just, we kind of get to, change things up a little bit. So I've noticed that is the one thing that people have always struggled with historically, that I've noticed in working with people as a life coach. But I've also seen a lot more people be more willing to bring it into their life without guilt or shame, in ways that they didn't before, which is just so cool in my mind. I think it's really great. That's where we should be.
What I find interesting too about rest is I feel like there are so many of us that have certain avenues that they go down for rest that aren't actually restful. Like in the past, I would like lie down on the couch, I would pick up my phone and I would like scroll TikTok. And
Right.
like that would be me resting.
Mhm.
But like after I've done like so much work with this, I'm like, okay, wait, that is actually like that's the antithesis of rest. That is not rest for me at all. And realizing that and changing like some of my patterns has been really helpful in like how impactful the rest that I do take is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So sidebar, because now I'm like, how would we each define rest, like quality rest? Like when you say like, because I get where you're coming from, like sitting, resting, but then, I get onto, so what part of that was not restful?
It was like it was the scrolling. So like I was like I was sitting down, I was resting my body, but my brain was just constantly like,
Mhm.
especially like, and what's interesting is I don't think me lying down on the couch and watching like a long form YouTube video is the same. Like I feel like that I'm resting for me personally. But
Mhm.
like for TikTok, constantly just like getting those dopamine hits was not
Yeah.
resting my brain.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. And it's always having your nervous system activated,
Mhm.
and not having any control over what you're about to be exposed to. And it's like, oh, this is happy, this is funny, this is sad. And while it sometimes can feel like a distraction and feel like rest, and in some way it is because we're not thinking about something else, it's
Mhm.
something that is still keeping us activated in a way that's not
Right.
Ooh.
rest. It's definitely not rest. Yeah. I would say that that's the one, probably the biggest hurdle that I have to get over, because it tends to be my default, because I love, to me, reading, assimilating information, taking in stuff is rest. It's a way for me to kind of, I don't know, it's just what I love to do. But because so much information is digital these days, I'm still plugged in. Whereas like maybe my mom or dad would read the newspaper or a magazine before. It's like now we're on our digital devices. I'm still wanting to do the same thing, but there's all of these like distractions and emotional pulls on us as we're, consuming this information. It makes it really hard. It's
Yeah,
hard.
totally.
I totally get that. I also know that like for me, I also thought like rest looked like sleeping. And I know we had some Moxie fan members say the same thing, like rest looking like taking a nap, like physically, but also looking at rest from different areas of life. And so
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious about like what ways that we incorporate rest that goes beyond just the physical. Like, what does it look like to have mental rest, social rest,
Mhm.
creative rest? Are there any other areas of rest that, we sometimes ignore?
Yeah. I would say the one thing that I've been able to do, so I've had a hack the way that I find rest because I like to consume information. It really is something that I find a lot of joy in, and I don't want to let go of that. But again, I can't go to my devices because it's so tempting for me to get pulled back into something that just reignites either my emotional body, my mental body, or my nervous system, especially these days with everything that's going on in the world. We're just inundated with information that we don't necessarily want to choose to bring in. So one of the things that I've started to do recently, and it's been so good for me, is journaling or reading a book is something I love doing, but I have been coloring. I have been coloring and I've been loving it. And I spend probably like an hour to 2 hours every single night when everybody goes down. And it forces me to not have my phone in my hand. And so I spend a solid, 60 or 90 minutes where I'm not consuming anything and I'm actually creating, and my brain totally turns off. And that has been probably one of the best things I've done for my mental health and for rest in years. It's been really great.
Yeah. How about you, Dee?
I'm trying to think like what things I do that turn my brain off, because I think for me, rest is definitely like when my brain is not like thinking and it's just kind of in the state of being. And I know going on a walk outside really helps with that. I love like getting curled up on like my coziness and my couch and like pulling out a book, letting music just play in the background, and like especially like jazz music. Oh, it just, I don't know, it just, for me, it's just the epitome of like rest and with my tea and just taking a moment to be still. Like for me mentally, that helps. And I just, those are like usually like the ways that I find, especially when it comes to like the mental rest.
Yeah.
But I'm still working on the creative rest. I'm still working on that and what it looks like to like rest creatively.
You've always been really creative though, like even with your planners and stuff. Is that something that you're not doing as much?
Yeah, I just feel like, I don't know, I feel like I'm being creative in other ways. And so it's just like, but now that I say this, when I think about being creative, I find that when I step back from something for a while, that's when I find that I can be creative for that thing. So like there was a couple months where I stepped back from like a project, and then while I was like away from it and I removed myself from it, my brain was able to like give it space to think and like let it be where I was not thinking about it. And so I don't know, I'm still exploring what creative rest looks like in that way.
Yeah. I was actually just going to say that I think creative rest for me is if I feel like I need it, it almost like I make meaning of it. Like if I find that I have a creative goal and I'm not working on it in my weekly actions or my monthly goals or anything like that, I make meaning of why I'm not working on it. And then I realize, oh wait, I just really need to like take a step back and just like let myself just be with this goal. Like, so I feel like for me, like creative rest is just like letting myself be and not forcing anything until I figure out what that thing actually looks like. Because a lot of times I'm like either doing something that I don't fully align with, it's like a should goal, or I'm putting too much pressure on myself to like go from A to F in one step.
Right.
So I kind of just have to like step back and just wait until my body's just like, you know what? Either I don't want to do that or I'm ready to start that.
Yeah. Chrissy, you said something that sparked something where you said you were like forcing. And I find that when I start to force something, that is usually my first sign of, I think I might need some rest here. When I'm trying to force something and it's just not like, and I keep pushing and I'm hitting a wall, or I'm starting to like just spiral or just get really bogged down. I'm like, okay, this is when I start have to forcing, that's my sign to rest. So that leads me to my next question for all of us is, has there been a time where you ignored your need for rest? What happened? And what did you learn from that?
Oh,
Yeah, you look like you were like, oh.
Oh, I've totally, sadly, I would say it's probably one of the biggest regrets I have in my life. And I don't have a lot of regrets in life, but I have a lot of regrets at how much I expected from myself when I was younger. And to what lengths I would go to not honor my own body and my own needs for something externally, whether it was achievement in my career, whether it was in my relationships where I was trying to please or appease or take care of others at expense to myself. Sometimes just even my relationship with rest and feeling like I was failing or I was being lazy and all of this awful mind trash that came with it. I look back now and I really feel sad for how I treated myself when I was younger. And it's only I would say probably in the last, maybe once I turned 40, that I started to really change the relationship that I had with it, because I was forced to. Because not listening to my body with rest, things started to fall apart. And things were really starting. I have gone through adrenal fatigue. I have gone through bouts of massive insomnia that affected, parts of my life. Like, it has affected my mental health with anxiety and depression. It has affected my ability to show up and do the best work that I can do as a mom, as a wife, as a, partner, a business owner, as an employee. Like, it is really been so instrumental in either completely not supporting me to do my best work, or it has been instrumental in helping me do my best work. And so, yeah, I don't know. I've definitely ignored it, and I'm sad that I did. Yeah.
Looking back on those times where you say that you totally burnt yourself out, can you pinpoint a moment where now you would say, okay, wow, I really need rest. And I should have seen that back then as like my key moment to like kind of shift things sooner?
Yeah. I'm going to kind of pivot a little bit. There was when I was a brand new mom, I think I was maybe a month into being a mom. And I remember my pediatrician telling me, and this probably the best advice as a parent, but I'm going to use it in relation to this. She said to me, honey, she was getting ready to retire. And she said, honey, you're going to get so much advice about how to be a parent, how to be a wife, how to do the things in life, how to just be a human. But I have one piece of advice for you, and you'll know when you start resenting something, it's time to change it. And that just literally blew my mind, because with parenting, like whether it's co-sleeping, you start to get to that point where you're like, okay, I need my personal space, or okay, it's time, or whatever it is, right? With your partners. But the same goes like for rest for me. When I start to find myself in a space of quiet resentment or frustration, the moment that those feelings start to show up for me, I know I need to self-manage. And I'm like, okay, that's when I'll usually do a check. I journal a lot, you guys. I love journaling. Because sometimes it's messy and it's noisy up here. So I need to write stuff down and just get it out. And that is my biggest trigger, is when quiet resentments show up. And that's when I'm like, okay, it's time to rest. Yeah. But it doesn't come easy. I still struggle. I still will rest and think, you know what? Am I letting somebody down? Am I holding my weight? Whatever. But,
yeah.
Oh, okay. Wait, because now it's like, well, because I know you're not the only one who feels that way. Like, when it comes to rest, I'm raising my hand twice. Like, I sometimes feel guilty because it does feel like I'm letting down people, or I'm not pulling my weight. So how do we like navigate that guilt that sometimes comes with resting?
Yeah.
Honestly, and this brings me back to a comment from Kathy, I feel like whenever I have those moments where I feel like I want to rest and I don't, it just spirals into this just overthinking, like getting in my head, not doing my best work, which causes more overthinking and just like getting angry at myself. And Kathy said this too earlier. Anytime I get in flow is restful for me. And that just like really hit me. I was like, wow, okay. Because when you're in flow, when you give yourself that time to like pull back and like get into flow with what you're doing, whether it's showing up for your people or showing up for your job or yourself or anything like that, it feels good. It feels rejuvenating, like in a way that you don't really think of when you think of rest. Like, you don't think like showing up for your people is restful, but it can be. Yeah. I guess. And I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Am I totally off base? I just had this moment when I saw Kathy's comment and I'm like, wow, okay, that actually makes a lot of sense. So thank you, Kathy.
I love that. I feel like, Darian, I'm looking something up online because I have something on.
You're good. You're good. I just like, I think, yeah, there's this guilt, but like we also owe it to ourselves. Like,
Mm.
again, because again, I know I was like, oh, it's a luxury. Like, I can't, like, this isn't something and that's something I'm working through and continue to work through. But I realized I can't be the best me. Like, I can't give my best. I can't show
Mm.
up for my family and my friends. I can't show up for if I'm not taking that time to
Mhm.
take care of myself, to give myself that mental rest, to give that emotional rest, that creative, like I
Yeah.
can't function, you know? And so I'm also one of those people where it's just like if I can't give it my all if I'm not taking the time to rest. And it's like I don't yeah, like
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
completely 100% get that. Also like being in that state of flow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. Mhm.
When you said that, I was like, yeah, that is definitely it brought me back to all the different types of rest there are. So in Club Moxie, which is our group coaching program that we have for Moxie Life, and we talked about the 7 types of rest, and I want to say it was at the end of this last year. I'm so bad at remembering what months we did it, but we talked about the 7 different types of rest. And when you were talking about that, I remember reading something online on Psychology Today about the different types of rest. And I believe that getting into flow is actually a type of sensory rest, I believe.
Okay.
Because what happens is
Yeah.
in moments of sensory deprivation, we are able to, it says, in moments of sensory deprivation, we help recharge ourselves from being overstimulated. And
Mhm.
flow is a way that flow is ease.
Yeah.
Whereas overstimulation is like you're constantly receiving or reacting. And so
Mhm.
anyway, I think flow is a type of sensory rest. So I wanted to look that up because I'm
That
like,
makes so much sense.
yeah.
It does. It does. Okay. 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 Now it's like my juices are all going and percolating. And I'm like, oh wait, we have a journaling activity. But before we get there, I want us to talk because Jen, you said this, and I want to bring this up a little bit. Jen said my self-worth is usually associated with how productive I am. But when it comes to rest, the narrative sometimes is looked at as not being productive, but it's not the case. I completely agree. It's not the case at all. Can we talk about one, how we live in a world where we're supposed to be doing, 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 and how resting is so hard, but how rest is in a way a resistance and this radical act of like self trust, but also resisting what the world is telling us we need to be doing. I know that is a
Yeah,
long and
Sierra,
heavy
this is
question.
all you.
Where I'm like,
I don't think we're ready to unleash Lucky Sierra tonight.
I'm
'Cause
like
I told you to
unleashed.
stay back somewhere else because no, you guys, I am very passionate I'm very passionate about this topic. I know it seems like we're like, oh, we're just talking about naps and stuff. No, I'm very passionate about this topic because of the fact that it has been so uh, detrimental to me to not embrace rest or to follow along. I was a good student. I followed the rules that rest is bad. I was A plus for saying rest was lazy and embracing that fully. And you guys, I crashed and burned so incredibly hard. And it makes perfect sense that that's what we're going to do. And we are conditioned to achieve and produce and live externally. And I'm of the mindset of like, I think rest is a great act of resistance. I think at rest to turn around and look at someone and be like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. I'm tired.
Mm.
End of sentence, end of conversation. I need to rest. I'm tired. And not make any excuses or apologies for that. You guys, we don't need to explain to people why we're resting. We
Right.
shouldn't have to. Like, we shouldn't have to. It's just like, do you explain when you tell someone you're having fun? Oh, I'm sorry, I need to go have fun tonight because, no, it's rest is something that we absolutely need to function, just like food, just like water, just like air. I don't turn around and apologize because I'm breathing. I don't turn around and apologize that it's time for me to eat because I'm hungry and I need to sustain my body. I'm sure as hell not going to turn around and tell someone I'm sorry because I need to rest. And
Mm.
some of us need more rest than others. And that is perfectly damn okay. And if anyone has a problem with it, show them the door. I'm dead serious. Like, I'm very passionate about this because we cannot, you guys. And there's so many things pulling on our time, energy, resources. across the board, that if we don't take care of ourselves, we cannot do the work that we need to do that actually matters. We don't have the energy to give to the people that we love the most, to spend doing the activities that we love the most, to do the work that we feel called to do the most. We can't do that if we're tired. We can't do that if we are depleted. And so I think this is a really important conversation. I know we're obviously talking about like our challenges with it, but you know, our time's kind of coming up here, but I really want to end this with, you don't have to explain away, apologize, or feel bad for rest. Rest is productive. Rest lets you do your best work. It's just as important as you sitting down and eating a meal. I mean, it genuinely is. And so I'm of the mindset of like, we need to unlearn and uncondition ourselves from that narrative that rest is bad. And so I think I like to vision forecast. I look forward to us living in a world where rest is celebrated, just like joy, just like love, just like everything else. And that rest and actually living and enjoying our lives is the norm and not something that we have to be doing pump up conversations on YouTube about, but that it's just accepted.
Totally.
Anyway, off my soapbox.
And from a career standpoint, can I add in from a career standpoint? Because I know Jen was talking about that.
Yeah.
I want to bring it back to when you first hired me, Sierra. We had a conversation where you said to me, I need you to stop consuming and to rest your mind, because it was just, I was in this space where back then I thought that rest was unproductive. It was quiet quitting, whatever you want to call it. So I was constantly trying to better myself. I was constantly trying to do more and up level. And Sierra said, no, you need to pull back. You need to rest and stop consuming, because and eventually it brought back my inner intuition and the trust that I had in myself. And it wasn't until I stopped consuming all the people who were doing it better on the internet, which is so not true anyway, let's be real, and stopped listening to the advice of people that I didn't aspire to be anyway, that I finally like found my intuition again. And I up leveled in that way. Like I stepped into my role better and more powerful and in my way versus a way that like I was conditioning myself to be. So.
I love that. Oh my gosh. Okay. And you bring up, sorry.
I love that. I'm like, I love it. Keep going.
And you know, like, I'm not going to go into another rant, but like to piggyback off of that, rest or not resting, being exhausted, being constantly like living outside of ourselves is kind of the point of that societal conditioning. In a negative way, in a sense that it feeds the machine and it helps everybody and everything else operate, but it completely removes us from ourselves. It does not give us, rest gives us the opportunity to sit and to process and to think and to come up with our own ideas and opinions, to trust our own intuition, to know that we're badasses and we don't need to learn from anyone else, whatever it is. Like rest isn't just taking a nap, sleeping in. It is allowing our hearts and our minds and our intuition and our trust and faith in ourselves to have space to grow and expand. And by not resting, we abandon ourselves completely, not just physically, mentally, emotionally, everything. So, okay.
Yes. I just, because you guys are saying, and I was like, when I think about like this as a radical act of self-trust, 5 years ago, 2020, like, I was like,
oh my God.
I know it seems so long. I mean, it seems like yesterday, but also so long ago at the same time. But I was nonstop. I was doing everything, trying to just running at 110, y'all. Like I have to I have to make the most of every opportunity. I got to make sure I'm meeting with this person. I got to make sure I'm doing this audition and talking to this person and going to this class and doing all of this stuff. Like just because I felt like there was this clock and I was trying to just like stay on top of it. Like I got to keep up with what everyone else is doing. And it just felt like this never ending. I felt like I was on a treadmill. And for me, rest was, let's get off of this treadmill and let's go on a walk. Let's get off this treadmill and let's go on a walk. And let's trust ourselves and trust our timing and trust our pace.
Yeah.
We don't, like, for me, rest, that radical act of self-trust is sometimes saying, I'm not going to do what everyone else is doing, and I'm going to do things on my own time, and I'm going to trust the pace that I'm going at. And I can't, rest helps me to keep going.
Yeah.
Like when we don't rest, we have no fuel. I look at it as like, this is my thing that refuels me, recharges me to keep going. And you guys are talking, I was just like, again, coming to Sierra, and Sierra was just like, hey, like, why are you doing all of this stuff? Like, it's okay to breathe. Like, because I felt like if I missed out on an opportunity, then I was like left behind. But rest is actually my way of resisting all of that mental crap of like comparison, keeping up with everybody, all of that stuff, and trusting in myself and what I'm doing, like, and trust, like, all of that. And so, oh my goodness.
I love that. It's just putting on blinders. Yeah. You know, I love the points that both of you guys just made, but Darian, remind me, you said rest as an act of radical self-trust. Is that, I don't want to mess up what you said.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. That is so true. And I think we want to talk about like the activity, which to me is like the tip of the iceberg. That's the rest. What is rest? But like really the foundation of rest is learning to let go of the societal conditioning that we have and all of the mind trash and meaning that we have been taught, as well as people still hold. You guys, this is not, we're in the infancy stage of even starting to question this. So just know that while you go to make these changes and you start to create more space and time and margin in your life for rest, and you lean into that more, people are going to look at you and they're going to push back and be like, huh, who does she think she is? That's okay. Like, but that bottom part of that iceberg is that self-trust. It really is. And knowing that you honoring your body, knowing your needs, understanding what drives you and what doesn't drive you and what you're going to reject in driving you forward and propelling you forward is really, truly where rest comes from.
Yeah.
And that's how it's sustainable.
Oh, I love that. Oh my goodness. I love it so much. So much. But y'all, Sarah mentioned this earlier. Sarah mentioned that she loves journaling. And so we actually have a short, like 3-4 minute journaling time that we actually want to do together. I think would be a great way to end our time together, is actually setting aside time to journal. And so if you have your planners or your notebooks or your iPad or even your phone out, if you want to use that, I'm going to pull up and share some journaling prompts. I'm going to play a little bit of background music. And I just want us to take a couple minutes to get started. Maybe you might get in a flow, but I just want to get us thinking about rest. And so I'm going to pull up these prompts. So we have a few prompts you can think about, take a few minutes to reflect on where you can bring more rest into your life. So one way is your mindset and your mental load. What's one thought, expectation, or worry I can set down for a moment to give my mind a break? When it comes to your emotions and relationship, what does emotional rest look like for me right now? Where can I soften, seek support, or give myself permission to step back? For physical well-being, ask yourself, how can I honor my body's needs, whether that's movement, stillness, nourishment, or simply listening? Creative rest, what's one way I can invite creativity or inspiration into my day without the pressure to produce or perform? Ooh, maybe I think that might be the one I need to do. Or daily life and routines, what's one small shift I can make today to create more ease in my daily life? So you by no means need to do all these. I just want you to pick one question to answer. One question.
I don't know what one to answer. I'm overthinking it.
If you want to come back and do them, go, by all means do that. But I'm just going to encourage you to take these next, I'm going to give us 3 minutes to get started and answer one question, to think about one question. Okay. So I'm going to play some music. And I just want us to answer one question, and then we'll come back and share and round out our time together. So let me get my music going.
I was like looking, I'm like, is it done? Oh, no, it's not.
Darian, I love that music, by the way. It's so much better than our last Jolene music.
It's called Wind Riders by Asher Furluo.
I love it.
I like that name, Wind Riders. All right. I'm curious, which question, well, let me pull them back up. Which question did you all choose to like think about and reflect on?
I'll go first. I went with the daily life and routines because this is something that I've already been thinking about this week. So if any of you are parents, you will totally relate to this, but the mornings are just so chaotic and stressful. And I just find lately it's been starting me off just on a bad foot, like getting into my day, just chaotic with my kids. So something that I have started implementing this week is setting a timer for my kids to say, okay, at 7:30, you're going upstairs, you're getting dressed, you're brushing your teeth, you're doing all the things to get ready so that when it comes time to get out the door, we're not rushing. We're ready to go. And we're being calm about it.
Oh, I love that.
And I mean, I've done it for 2 days now and it's been great. It sticks.
It sounds like flow. Like
it does.
Ease. Yeah. Oh, I love that.
So there's that. And then another one, I've started double cooking. When I'm in the mood to cook, I've started cooking double batches and like instantly freezing whatever I'm not going to eat this week or tonight so that I have it for the future. And it's been a lifesaver.
Come on, life hack.
If I'm like in the mood to cook, that's rare.
Yeah.
So like I may as well capitalize on it. And to me, that's just like rest for my future self. Just saying, I have these dinners in the freezer. I don't have to stress about it.
I love that. Mm-hmm. I love that. That's so smart. I know. I'm like, I'm here. I may as well just double things. And then I have
doing it anyway.
Oh, that's great. What about you, Dee?
Okay, so I answered the one about needing to, I'm going to say it correctly. One way I can invite creativity or inspiration into my day without the pressure to produce or perform. And this is, I was like, for a while, it took me hard to get into this question because I'm like, perform, and that's what I do. Like, what do you mean not perform? Like, so for me, I was like, okay, that for me means enjoying creativity without feeling like I need to produce it. And so I think for me, I know it's going to sound so cheesy, but it's looking at my favorite TV show, like taking time to consume it for me. Like one lately has been A Different World and consuming it. And I'm just like, Debbie Allen is a genius. Like that topic and just allowing myself to appreciate the art that, other artists are doing. For me, I also said maybe like, listening to music that inspires me. And so Aretha Franklin. So like I might need a dose of Aretha Franklin throughout my day or two and just like get her like inspiring me and like, like are listening to like Motown. Like I don't know stuff that like I know my aunts and uncles and grandparents listen to. It connects me to them and it just inspires this whole new level of creativity. And then I also said I need to go to more museums. Like visiting more like art museums, experimental museums, like those pop-up museums, because for me, that's always so nice to experience that and like walk through that and just like take in like art and breathe it in. Because I think for me, the way that I can't produce or perform it is for me to just accept it and like, again, to experience other artists. So those are ways that I'm going to start incorporating it. Like watching my favorite shows and why they're my favorite shows and just allowing myself to consume it in a way that just inspires me. And so, yeah,
I hear like you being very present and like,
yeah, isn't that cool?
Beauty. Yes.
Presence over producing is like, when I think, that's my definition of rest, y'all.
There you go.
I'm leaving this conversation. That's what I'm taking. For me, rest is when I can be present and not producing.
Yeah.
That's big. That's
Come on, journaling prompts.
Right? Okay, by the way, journaling is such a great, it's a productive rest. Because I feel like, you are doing something, but like it allows you to sit and sift like whatever's going on so you can like respond. I mean, it's literally the hallmark of living a purposeful life, and a life that you love. It's like, yeah, I don't know. Okay. I answered the daily life one. Can you throw it back on? Same one as Chrissy. So because I feel like I've done really good with my mindset. I've been working on that forever. And yeah, that was the one for me that I have like this hack, and it's really funny. And I've started to fall back into a really bad habit. So you can go ahead and take it off. So one of my favorite things to do, I've talked about this before, maybe not here on YouTube, but I love to get horizontal. Like I very rarely you'll see Sierra sitting on a couch. Like Sierra doesn't sit on a couch. She embraces the full space. I am like laying back under a fuzzy blanket. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. I don't care who's at my house. Like I am just getting as cozy as I possibly can. I sometimes have to catch myself. Like if I'm at someone else's house, like I'm that person who gets like really cozy on your couch. But I do that while I'm also working or doing something. So for example, I may be on Amazon ordering groceries because it's really one of my favorite things in the world to do while our lives are really crazy. But I'll be like laying back. And if you were to see me, you're going to think I'm on, Facebook, I'm on Instagram. I'm just like not doing anything. And so when my husband will walk past, I'm like, I'm busy. I'm ordering groceries. You don't need to tell me what you're doing. Like, you don't need to explain to me. I'm like, well, I just don't want you to think that I'm like, he's like, oh, resting? And I'm like, yeah. And then I realized, I'm like, wait, why am I so like, why do I need to feel I'm falling back into that trap again, that I need to explain why I'm doing something? But it's because I have been habit stacking my rest. I've been habit stacking my rest. We're going to talk about this actually in Club Moxie in this coming month. It's kind of like romanticizing the margins of your life, like where it's like, oh, I have some downtime, or I can physically rest my body, but like maybe because for me, physical rest is where I really struggle. I have an autoimmune disorder, and so it makes me tired. Tired is like my baseline. So for me to honor my physical rest while I am maybe productive with other things allows me to still do what I need to do, but I'm still giving myself the rest. So I'm going to lean into that more, and I'm not going to tell my husband what I'm doing. So it's like, I don't have to feel guilty.
Yeah.
and again, he doesn't care. He's like, are you seriously telling me? You don't need to tell me. I'm like, I don't know why, like, whatever. It's just weird. It's weird, but that's what I'm going to do.
I love that.
I love that.
I love that. Y'all, thank you. Thank you. I can't believe, like, I know we went over our time, and that's okay. But I just want to say thank you for joining me in this conversation about rest. And y'all who are watching and team replay, y'all in the comments, I know I really enjoyed this. But before we head out, if there was one thing that you want to leave someone about rest, what would it be? Like, what advice would you give someone when it comes to giving them permission to rest?
Your purpose here is not to be exhausted. Exhaustion, being tired, is a distraction from living a purposeful life. It is literally the opposite of everything that we talk about, everything that we encourage people to do with Moxie Life, with our planners, with setting goals. Your purpose is not to be tired. And so I want to encourage everybody to kick that concept that rest is a 4-letter word, and instead embrace it as your, I don't know if this is the worst. You guys, I'm really bad with analogies. It's like your spinach if you're a Popeye. Like that is going to give you the energy that you need. Worst analogy ever. But that's how I see it. It's like that's your secret sauce to just keep going. We need it. It's absolutely necessary, and it's not a luxury. It is something that we should luxury in. So yeah.
I was going to say rest is productive, which feels kind of cliche based on what content I consume, but I'm sure somebody needs to hear it.
And I would just say we are worthy of rest. We deserve rest. We don't need to earn it.
I want to challenge all of you, put a rest goal on your March goals.
Ooh.
put a rest-centered goal on your March goals and come to our Facebook group and share it in the Facebook group. And if you don't already have a planner and you don't know what kind of goals you want to set, what you're looking at for the rest of 2025, guys, goals don't have to just be for January 1st. And we have a code for you. YouTube fam is going to get you another $10 off our already discounted 2025 weekly planners. And that's valid until, yeah, don't tell the boss. That's valid until March 1st. So go get a planner, join us in the Facebook group, and we are really excited to see your rest goals and to help support you through your goals in 2025.
Yes, take care of yourselves. You deserve it. We need you. We need your goodness. We need your light. And the only way that we can get that out into the world is by you taking really good care of yourself. And so big virtual hugs to all of you. Please be well.
Yes. We love y'all, and we will talk to y'all soon. All right.
Bye.
Bye.